To amend the words of one of my favorite female characters of all time, and Hermione Granger, it's Furiosa, not Furiosa. There you go. Works on both levels. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Alex. If you haven't been here before, I review a lot of movies and do some other stuff regarding movies, and sometimes on occasion talk video games and TV. Today I'm going to be talking about the newest blockbuster, the fifth installment in the Mad Max series, Furiosa, a Mad Max story, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. As the world fell, young Furiosa is snatched from the great place of many mothers and falls into the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Dementus. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the citadel presided over by the immortal Joe. While the two tyrants war for dominance, Furiosa must survive many trials as she puts together the means to find her way home. Before Fury Road, I had actually never seen a Mad Max movie. That was the first Mad Max movie I saw in theaters, and I remember sitting in there, not really knowing what to expect. I had just heard that it was really good. And as the opening scenes of the movie, not the opening chase scene, but even just the opening scenes of the movie where Max is escaping the prison in the Citadel, I just sat there in the theater thinking, holy shit, this is insane. And I could say the same thing about Furiosa. It doesn't have the high octane, full throttle, adrenaline pumping, pedal to the metal action that Fury Road does. Fury Road's essentially just a non-stop action movie for 2 hours, but Furiosa did floor me. This is by far the best blockbuster we have gotten this year, and let me just say this, and all the blockbusters we gotten this year are cooking. Haven't disliked a single one. Furiosa falls into that category. It's a movie that's going to take you by surprise. If you're expecting to go into this movie expecting a high-octane bloodbath, pedal to the metal, with gears turning every second, I'm just going to throw out a lot of car puns, a lot of blood-pumping puns, because that's really what the series is about. I just have to say, if you're expecting any of that, you're going to be disappointed, because the first half of this movie is very meticulous in its pacing. Something that this movie has been criticized for, I don't really get it, is its pacing. I think this movie flies by. It's 2.5 hours. It's like the other blockbusters this year. Doom, 2 hours and 46 minutes. Quick. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, 2 hours and 25 minutes. Quick. Furiosa is a quick 2 hours and 28 minutes with its pacing, its meticulous pacing. And there's so much here in the first half of the movie that you really have to pay attention to. It has to do so much. It has to set up Dementus as the villain. It has to set up the quest of Furiosa wanting revenge on Dementus. It has to set up other things pertaining to Dementus that I won't get into here. It has a lot to do. It's split up into chapters, and I think that that was actually a wise thing. It could feel like it is part of a mini-series, but to its benefit, that works for the movie. This world opens up even more than it already has, expanding the mythos and the history of these characters and the wasteland. This is essentially the origin story of Furiosa. That's what I loved about the first half of this movie. You really saw where she was coming from, what she experienced when she was a little kid. Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't come into the movie as Furiosa until about an hour in, and that's not saying that Furiosa's not in the movie, because she is. It's just the younger Furiosa that's younger than the young Furiosa, who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who's playing a younger version of Furiosa from Fury Road. I know, this whole thing's confusing. It's crazy. And because this is an origin story, it's really trying to flesh out Furiosa as a character even more than Fury Road did. She's by far one of my favorite female characters in the last 10 years or so. And it's just the quiet moments that sit well with you, that let you take the time to take in what she's actually thinking, that make this journey feel so much more earned than it probably would if this was a different director. George Miller has such a twisted mind. That's why he's such a great director. That's why he's got such a good grasp on this world. He's the creator of this world. He's like the George Lucas of this world. He knows in the back of his mind what exactly he has to do, and that's exactly what he does here. Don't tell him there needs to be a stupid action. No, he knows how to build up to the action scenes, and he for sure does it here, but it's the quieter moments that are hauntingly eerie, where Furiosa is calming herself and calculating how she's going to go after Dementus, and calculating certain decisions that she has to make to get to Dementus that make the movie feel so much more lively and enriching. It makes Furiosa a well fleshed out character. It makes her a smart character. which is what Fury Road already did, but this movie just heightens that even more. The moments of silent calculation and silent rage throughout this entire movie, and they're awesome. I loved sitting there just watching Furiosa to look at what was ahead of her and trying to figure out how to accomplish her goal. All these moments of silent calculation and silent rage go along with this eerie quietness that allows you to imagine and visualize what kind of horror is around the corner. There will be action scenes shown from the distance without a musical score. The first hour of this movie doesn't even really have a score. It's really just the Chris Hemsworth as Dementis show. It's showing you Furiosa's plan, her backstory, her plans to get revenge on Dementis, and Dementis is just sick, twisted mind in what he's doing. So, with that, I think we should segue into the performances. Anya Taylor-Joy as a young Furiosa. Perfect. I love Anya Taylor-Joy. She's a great actress. And she proves in this movie that it's just more than just saying words that are written on a piece of paper. She has so much body language that she has to work with. She has so many blank stares into the camera. As I was saying, those collected stares of rage that she has to embody, you could just see the look of rage and revenge and fury in her eyes. And if an actor can embody all of that, that's perfection in my eyes. But the real standout here is Chris Hemsworth as Dementis. This man, Chris Hemsworth, just takes it to a whole nother level. It's intentionally hammy. It's supposed to be. I just love how he just yells all of his lines. And to make it even more gratifying, he yells into a microphone half the time. And honestly, on a side note, I love how just everybody, even some random extra, will just yell their lines. They'll be like, "Citadel is under attack! What are you going to do about it, Immortan Joe?" And then Immortan Joe will be like, "We are going to attack Gastown!" It's every single line of dialogue, and it's awesome. But back to Chris Hemsworth, the dude is awesome. He's a really special talent. When he can tap into a different side of him that you've never really seen before, that's when he's at his best. I love it when he plays villains. Bad Times at the El Royale. I love that movie so much. You can argue that that movie is a rip off of Tarantino, but I think it's a love letter to Tarantino. And what really elevates that movie is Hemsworth's performance because he's just so good at being a fucking asshole. And he's so good at it here. He's so twisted in his ideology. He has a plan. He wants to execute it. He wants the whole wasteland to himself. And he will not stop at anything to get that. The personality that Chris Hemsworth embodies as Dementis in this movie, it's incredible. Nobody else, I don't think, could have pulled this off. He knew that this was a performance that demanded some over-the-top campiness and hamminess, and he went for it. He knew exactly what it needed. And if it didn't have that, it wouldn't have worked. And I don't think it would have worked with anyone else in the role other than Chris Hemsworth. Dude's a national treasure. And even though I said that the action isn't as high octane or pedal to the metal, as you can call it, as the previous action scenes in Fury Road, when they are here, they are awesome. There's another great chase scene as Furiosa and another character are on the way to Gastown, which I thought was incredible. It reminded me of Fury Road. It reminded me of some of the action scenes from The Road Warrior, but not a single action scene in here feels the same. It doesn't feel the same as the action scenes that follow it, nor does it feel the same as any of the other action scenes you've seen in a Mad Max movie. Every action scene in this movie has a distinct signature moment, and it feels so distinct in its presentation that it allows the action scenes to stick out aside from those signature moments. You can remember them because they are so different from each other. And in my opinion, that's an underrated aspect of what makes a great action set piece, a great action set piece. Something that's not really talked about when they're doing something new or when they're doing something different that differentiates it from following set pieces or previous set pieces. As with Fury Road, the costumes and the makeup are top notch. The makeup and the costumes enliven the world more than they have previously. They just make the world feel so much more weird and wacky and gives it this sci-fi edge that you thought Mad Max probably never really had until you realize it's just like that's kind of weird, but it works for this world. For a post-apocalyptic future, I buy that. There's probably weirdos that would do that. The sound design is awesome. The turning of gears on a motorcycle, metal clanging together. It's all just top notch. It felt like I was there in the wasteland, hearing these from a distance. Like if I was in a different theater, I guarantee you I could probably hear the sound effects and the sound design in this movie from a different theater across the hall. It's loud, feels real, and it's awesome. They did a really, really great job with the technical aspects of this movie. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I loved every second of this. I was expecting to find something where I could criticize, and I think realistically you probably could criticize some of the visual effects, but I loved like the old school zoom in sometimes, and then it zooms out and then it zooms right back in. It felt like an old movie from 1979. It felt like the old Mad Max movies. And I think people are going to criticize some of that because they're going to say it looks cheap. I didn't think that way. Then sometimes the CGI is slightly noticeable, and the best CGI is when you don't notice it, but it never took me out of the movie, which is why I'm not going to bring it up so much. The way it was filmed, it just felt like I was watching a movie that came out in the 90s or 80s or even the 70s from the same franchise, from the same director. It didn't feel dated though. And that's some craftsmanship right there. This is definitely a different kind of Mad Max movie, just like Beyond Thunderdome was. But unlike Beyond Thunderdome, I think that this movie actually takes all the different things it does with it and does them all well. Thunderdome, I thought, had a strong first half or second half. This entire thing is awesome from start to finish all the way through. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, belongs in popcorn heaven. Probably not as action packed as many people were hoping, but it's one of those movies that lets you sit with the quiet moments and process what you just saw or what you think is going to happen. It's a movie made of tension, and that's what I love about it. That's why it gets the first popcorn heaven rating of the year. The first one, guys. Can't believe it. So if you have seen Furiosa, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.